Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about the premiere of AMC's Into the Badlands? Stick around and find out. Ding 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 ding. All right, hey, I'm Peter Franson from ChristianGeekCentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions here with an uncut review of the premiere for Into the Badlands from the AMC network. Now, many years have passed since the Great Wars. Guns have been outlawed and 7 barons rule the land using trained masters of martial arts called clippers to do their dirty work and advance their agendas. Sonny was found as a young boy and trained to become a clipper. Yes, you heard me right, his name is Sonny. He's now a grown man and is the most feared and effective clipper, yet secretly longs for a better life. Sonny meets a teenage boy on the run who claims to come from a city outside the Badlands, and with sudden changes in Sonny's personal life, he now has more motive than ever to question his situation and his loyalties. All right, so let's talk about the story, the script, the pacing, that kind of thing. The dialogue is not terribly intriguing. It's kind of filled with I don't want to say filled with cliches, but it has a few like that pop up here and there. It's not all that terribly creative or surprising, but I do think that the story is interesting enough, and the setting is very interesting. When I saw the commercials, I thought this was going to be like another post-apocalyptic setting, similar to The Walking Dead, but maybe a little cleaner looking. This actually might be an alternate present. They refer to these great wars that happened long ago, and I'm wondering, based on the technology that's around, if those great wars took place around the time of World War I or World War II, based on the just the little bits of technology. I think we see one vehicle in the whole thing, and it's like an older vehicle from, I want to say, like the 1940s or 30s maybe even, and there's like a really old like a Victrola type record player, so it's interesting because there doesn't seem to be any like remnants of present day technology. So I'm still interested in kind of wrapping my head around, okay, what is this setting and how is it different and how does it relate to our world, you know? And it also, I'm happy to say, has just a touch of sci-fi or supernatural. There's something going on with one of the characters that enables them to do like some incredibly awesome kung fu, go into like kind of a berserker mode type thing, and clearly from the effect that they use in that character's eyes, there is something that's either of a sci-fi or supernatural nature going on that has yet to be revealed. But I was really pleased about that, because even with an alternate future or alternate present timeline type of setting like this, I still like to have just a touch of the unexplained, or the science fiction or supernatural fantasy or something like that, to just a little bit more effectively scratch that nerd itch of mine. The story revolves around, I would say, like, or it kind of hangs on power struggles within the main Baron's family. There's the main Baron that the setting is kind of attached to has a son that's a young adult now. He's got a wife that he's kind of set aside and is like, she's just, an old woman or whatever. He doesn't seem terribly interested in her, and he's actually pursuing another woman, and as a Baron he can have as many wives as he wants. But of course that's causing tension between him and his I almost said ex-wife, his current wife, and issues of potential jealousy and stuff, and it even gets more complicated than that. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's clear what every character wants. It's clear there's at least something that's clear about what each character wants. All of their motives certainly have not been revealed at this point, but there's enough clear about each character's motives that you understand something that they want. Maybe not why they want it, but something that they want, and also the cost that's probably going to be associated with that's either going to affect them or those around them. Oftentimes these different goals that people have, these different desires, are going to, they're not compatible with at least one other character's desires, and so there's going to be conflict at some point as people are pursuing their goals. And as I said, there are also goals that are unclear at this point. So despite having clear motives, which is important to me, I like to know what characters want, so I know to be rooting for them or to be concerned when they're getting closer and closer to their goals. But despite having those things defined, which helps me to engage in the story, there's still plenty of mystery around each of the characters, plenty for the audience still to discover. I felt like there was a pretty good balance of action to story, which I was glad for, because I didn't just want this like crazy martial arts kung fu post-apocalyptic type thing. I mean, of course that scratches a bunch of nerd itches, but for me, I want more than just my nerd itch scratched. I want my story and character itch scratched as well when I watch a show like this. That's why I like a show like The Walking Dead so much. Not because I'm like a huge zombie fan in particular, but because it uses this geek genre backdrop to tell a very relatable human story, similar in some ways to how the recent Battlestar Galactica series told its stories. It's human drama, but yet set in a geek genre setting. So I think we're probably going to get something similar here, although I don't think it's going to have the dramatic weight and intensity of Battlestar, The Walking Dead, or certainly not Breaking Bad. It does have just a little bit of those WB sensibilities of the producers that created the show, who are the same two guys that created Smallville. There's no bad acting going on yet, as you might expect from a WB homegrown show. I mean, it's not homegrown, it's not a WB show, but you know what I mean. From guys who are known most for Smallville. There's no bad acting going on here, but neither has the material allowed anyone the opportunity to shine yet, so we'll see, I guess, at this point is how I feel. Though my first impressions of at least the supporting cast leave me hopeful for good performances to come, if not, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead caliber. I don't think we're going to see that on this show. And I think from the main character who plays Sonny, this is a guy who, he's a good, solid actor playing kind of the stoic, hero, serious guy. But I don't think he probably wasn't hired for his ability to do really weighty drama and like summon emotions and tears and stuff like that. I think we're going to see that more from the supporting cast, and there's already just a little bit of hints of that in one of the supporting cast members. So I was feeling like, okay, I think there's potential for some really good dramatic performances in the supporting cast. We're not seeing that yet, but I think there's the possibility of that in the future. Let's talk about the visuals a little bit. Like I said, I would describe it as a post-apocalyptic setting. It's low-tech, but they're not living in wreckage. But it does have kind of a sparse quality to it in terms of the technology that's around and just the surroundings. They're largely out on a big plantation-type setting, and outside of the plantation is just lots and lots of dirt roads and fields that go for miles and miles. So it doesn't have the congested wreckage feeling of, a post-apocalyptic setting, but yet it is pretty low-tech. It's visually different from the drab Walking Dead setting, which I think was something they needed to do. It was a good idea. But it does have a few kind of like it's basically got a few accent colors like crimsons in this episode, but it's not overly colorful and like bright, and I wouldn't have been able to stomach that. But I would say the costumes and the hair, they betray the kind of WB sensibilities of the former Smallville producers who created the show. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if someone were to tell me, oh yeah, the set and costume designer from the Smallville series that were brought on to do this show. Maybe not so much the set designers. I would believe that it's a different set designer, but I feel like the hair and the costumes is like, this feels like a little bit like WB. Like it doesn't feel quite, the clothes don't feel quite lived in enough, and the hair is it feels like it feels like the dark future with splashes of runway model influence. They were making this kind of dark future story, but then they brought on the costume and makeup guy from Smallville, who's just like, what? I would just love a splash of color here. And, can I put some product in your hair? So it is a little bit, it's an interesting kind of blend of vibes, I should say. So we'll just kind of see how that turns out. As far as relevance, is there anything of moral, philosophical significance that might come to mind or spring into conversation after watching this? Maybe. I think there's maybe more potential for the future of this show than for this isolated pilot by itself. The Baron at the beginning holds up a Bible talking to young recruits who may become clippers in the future. He says, people once believed this a holy book. They believed it held the answers from a God that would save them. Boys, he says, there is no God in the Badlands. A God does not feed you or clothe you or protect you. I do. And I thought that was really interesting because it was coming from a villain. And so when you have those words that are basically saying, there is no God, I am God, then what that as an audience member tends to do is make you sympathetic toward those who would reject that idea being presented by the villain and instead say, you know what, I believe that there is a God, I believe that you're wrong, and I believe the Bible does have value. Like the Bible in this instance is the good alternative to the obvious bad guy's philosophy. Now, a brief scene later where a character is learning to read is starting by reading, I think it's the first couple sentences maybe of Paradise Lost, which I have not read, but is a work that deals with, definitely with religious themes and ideas. And so the inclusion of that may also imply future religious themes in the series. Too soon to tell, but the show has my attention in that regard. The premise itself is analogous to one of the basic claims of the Bible, that we live in a broken world, but a better one waits for us if we are willing to believe that and leave this world behind. Although the analogy is missing the savior component that the Bible clearly has, unless there are future plans in this show that would place Sonny in the role of savior. His origins at this point are a mystery, but hints imply that he may actually come from this outside good city that people want to get to, that's outside of the Badlands. And so if he comes from there, that would certainly have some parallels to Christ as God coming from heaven and revealing truth and providing a way for all of us to be with God where he is. Given that at least one of the producers has a Catholic background, it may not be out of the question to look for biblical metaphors in this series as it goes forward. So, I don't know. We'll see. Now, if I were a time traveler, because I have no idea what your tastes are, I would go back in time and say, okay, Pater, you don't have cable, so just wait for now. But you know what? Buy the first season the day it comes out. It's worth an experimental purchase of the entire first season. Maybe wait till it's used. I mean, maybe don't pay more than $20 if you can avoid it, or $30, to buy the first season, and then just kind of see how it goes. But it definitely seems solid enough to risk that kind of a purchase. Now, I don't like numbers, but if you do, how about a quality score of 9.0 out of 10? That would be an A letter grade, and a relevant score of 7.0 out of 10. That would be a C letter grade. All right, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. You can also support this channel by visiting spiritblade.com and seeing what we have for you there. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And then where the crap is my sign? Boom! I hope you visit christiangeekcentral.com for more content and community, and join us there soon as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. I keep telling myself I'm going to have that button ready. It didn't happen this time.